each other a couple times the past few days.
Sorry, it's absolutely not.
I'm in Texas all this week and preaching on the word.
Oh! Yeah, he mentioned you.
Hey, Susan, how are you?
Went out a couple of years ago. Well, a lot of the state legislators, James Smith and all of them, in Richland County, so that's what I It's a mess, it's a big mess.
Three-page article in the paper about consolidation. Thank you, sir. He didn't call Sam. He didn't call Sam.
Cliff isn't that right, he doesn't do a good job of work. You have to do your job for him, you have to feed him to him. Are you trying to consolidate us?
Hey. You called. Haywood. Haywood. You know you Haywood. I got you. That's good to know. Good to meet you. All right.
We got a quorum. Take over, Sam.
What's your number here? Please. All right. 995. This is H-E-Y. V-I-N. Yes, sir. I'll give you a call. I appreciate it. Okay. Hey, tell me who you are now. Thank you.
That's this year, 16, 17. Scott, 15, 16. But also, I just talked to Okay, all right, good.
Lord have mercy. Hey, did you have a...
Yes.
I'm sorry. Let me say that loud. I don't know. Yeah, we can find out though. Jan can find out. Yeah. Hello, Madam Clerk, Madam City Manager.
Yes, sir. Good evening,
Evening.
Mr. McDowell,
Present.
Mr. Duval, Mr. Badura, Ms. Plow, Ms. Devine.
Here.
Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mayor Benjamin.
here. Do we need to have a motion to come out of executive session? No. Is this continuation of the previous meeting? No, we're all right. All right, just make sure. All right. Thank you. All right. All right. Now we're going to have our pledge of allegiance and then our invocation by Chaplain Michael Baker. Amen. Thank you, Pastor Baker.
Mr. Mayor, at this time, we would ask that you and council adopt the agenda.
Is there a motion? So move. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I did have something.
Ms. Devine had something off?
I think actually it was just a correction on the appointments. Is Connie here? Or Libby? For the Criminal Domestic Violence Task Force, I think the memo says we have 2 appointments to make, and it should be all 7. So that would be the only correction I saw.
Okay. Duly noted. With that one amendment, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? This motion has already been moved and properly seconded. Move the previous question, Clerk call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
At this time, Mr. Mayor, we would ask for any public input related to the agenda items as outlined.
All right.
Seeing none, we would ask for council to approve the minutes of May 17, 2016 work session and June 21st, 2016 work session and council meeting.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Move the previous question, Clerk call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Council is asked to approve the consent agenda items 8 through 19 and 21 through 41.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move the previous question, Clerk call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
At this time, Mr. Mayor, we will move into a period of presentations, beginning with the United Service Organization update. Ms. Joni Thresher, Executive Director, and Ms. Katie Kennedy, Program Director for the United Service Organization. And I know representatives from the chamber are here as well.
Hey, ladies.
Without you all and the support of our community, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. The USO just turned
Oh, yeah.
We just also opened a new facility up in Fort Jackson at the Military Entrance Processing Station. So all the young men and women that are coming in to raise their hands for the first time to join any branch of the service to take care of us through our wonderful state of South Carolina, come into our most military-friendly community right here in Columbia. We're blessed to take care of them as well.
Absolutely.
So thanks to all of the donations and for us being a 501c3 doing all that we do. We're fortunate to be able to take care of all these young men and women that we do. The smiles that you see when you come through the Columbia Metropolitan Airport are the smiles of these wonderful volunteers that we have here, taking care of service members and families. We also can always tell who these new recruits are when you're flying in and flying out, and they're holding the little envelopes, and those eyes are really big.
Oh, yeah.
Just know that we're going to be there with a warm hug, a hot cup of coffee, and a wonderful smile to embrace them and take care of them. So we thank you so much for allowing us to be here. We also want to thank our wonderful distinguished partners in uniform here. Thank you all for keeping us safe so we can do what we do each and every day.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I will tell you, it's always, I find out, I see a lot, and seeing the young soldiers is always an exciting part of our travel. But I will tell you the impression that the USO makes on all the people who embark and disembark from the airport. And it does really make a great statement about the fact that we are the most military-friendly community in the entire country. And you guys do such a fantastic job. Everyone's always smiling, early, late, midday, and very pleasant to all folks who come through there, not just the soldiers, but I know it means a lot to the over 100,000 soldiers and their families who come through there every single year. And it's our pleasure to proclaim June of this year as USO South Carolina Awareness Month. All right.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
A round of applause for USO, y'all. City Manager.
Our next presentation is an update on the 5 Points Centennial Celebration. Ms. Amy Beth Franks, Executive Director of the 5 Points Association.
Amy Beth.
Can you hear me? All right, thank you all so much for the opportunity to come and speak to you today. Before we get started, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge, I'm not going to make mine come up, they might beat me up, but our 5 Points Association Board of Directors is here with me today. You want to wave? It is in huge part to you all and city staff that we were able to achieve so much last year with our centennial celebration. So I want to take you quickly through what we did last year and what we're looking to do over the next couple of months.
Unfortunately, this has been the story of the day, so it's not.
Technical issues? Okay. Working through them?
So 2015 was an incredible year for us, and because of you all, we were able to do a host of projects, some of them large, some of them small. Some of the most notable ones we did were promotional items, light pole banners, reusable shopping bags, posters throughout the neighborhood, very simple small things. Some of the things that we did were larger. We were able to create this video, which we've spread all over the state to help drive tourism to the Five Points community. We were also able to work on our digital presence, which Five Points has a huge digital platform, but what we really wanted was to push traffic to our individual merchants. So we did numerous campaigns, one of which was the 100 People Project, where we connected with people from all over the city and touched into that sense of nostalgia, figuring out what it was about Five Points that they loved, and we used that to spread the love of Five Points on social media all year long. We have a couple of other projects, though, in 2016 that I think are really going to make the biggest impact on our community. We are working with Seth Rose, County Councilman, and city staff on the beautification of the train trestle on Blossom Street. I know people have been wanting to see that for years, and it's finally coming to fruition, hopefully in August. We're also in communication with USC to form a partnership so that we can ensure that that remains a clean and safe and beautiful gateway from their community to ours. We are also working on a musical walking trail, which is the installation of 18 custom bronze medallions in different places in Five Points to mark significant places in our music history, and we'd like to see that go citywide. Probably the largest part of our centennial, what's the most important to the Five Points community, is the construction of our Centennial Plaza. 2015, we'll go ahead and show the video.
I've been around this area for a long time, and I've always felt more comfortable with the atmosphere of Five Points.
I think what makes Five Points unique is that it sits in the middle of 7 neighborhoods, a cluster of mom and pops that are fiercely loyal to the Five Points area.
It's like family. It's like a really hip Mayberry.
It sort of just nestles in this little valley and creates it's just a special little district.
Columbia's Five Points, or in some cases what people like to call the village of Five Points, was really a creation of the early 20th century, coming into its own by the late 1940s, really developing into a hot spot in so many ways for people who are interested in specialty shopping. You fast forward into the 1970s and 1980s, and Five Points certainly still retained its kind of unique or funky quality. Now in the 21st century, you've got this really cool blend of personalities, architecture, and interests that are nestled within this kind of this valley, if you would, that's perched on the southeast corner of the original city limits.
There's something special about Five Points because you're in a very large city. You're in the capital of South Carolina, but then you come to Five Points and you feel like you're in a small town again. It's also nice because every store here is local, and so everybody is in this together, and they all know the feeling of being a small mom and pop store.
Well, I think it's one of the few easily accessible shopping districts in the city. You can zigzag your way around, and you can pretty much find anything from a musical instrument to a pair of shoes to candy. There's just a great selection.
We have our high-end boutiques, we have our mom and pop shops, we have local coffee shops that are really nice. And I think keeping that next door neighbor feel is really important.
There's shopping, there's food, there's culture, there's music, and most of all, the community of Five Points Association really digs in and tries to make a family-oriented community for everybody to come hang out.
You know, it's the fountain of youth. Five Points is the fountain of youth. I get older every year, but it seems like the people that are out there are the same age. And I've been here for so long I just feel like I'm part of the fabric down here.
For Columbia in the 21st century, 5 Points is a place that has retained much of its earlier character in some respects, while continuing to develop as a place where folks can go to experience unique things, unique entertainment, unique dining, unique shopping. There's a certain spirit about 5 Points that is nurtured by small business owners who are very, very involved with ensuring that their community retains those things that make it special.
Every little area probably has maybe they have the same type of thing, but I know 5 Points does. You know, I feel it. I walk the streets and I can feel the love down here.
Thank you for being patient. That video is one of my favorite parts of the Centennial, and I show it as often as I can. So we're going to double back just a little bit. Here are some of the promotional items that we talked about.
It makes me happy when Berks feels the love.
Right?
It makes me feel better about myself, actually.
Here are the light poles. We installed new light pole banner brackets on our lower level pedestrian lighting to increase that neighborhood feel that people really love about 5 Points. We wrapped our trash cans and we wrapped our electrical box wraps with educational photos and captions. Here's the digital presence that we talked about. We upped our social media presence by thousands, getting traction on a national level. The 100 influential people that we partnered with to spark those senses of memories. And then we also were able to work with the Columbia Visitors Bureau to get 5 Points on national and international levels. That's amazing. Everybody saw the 25-page spread that they did on Delta Sky and Southern Living. We're seeing visible reactions from people for these publications, and we're very grateful. So a lot of what we wanted to do for our Centennial took planning, responsible planning, and meetings if we were going to do it the right way. So here's what we're working on. We have worked with city staff, in particular, Public Works has been amazing to install these beautiful custom lights in the trees on Hardin, and we're looking to continue that down more blocks of Hardin Street. Here is the musical walking trail that we'd like to see spread citywide as a tourism attraction. We have partnered with One Columbia, Drip, and Packnell to place a beautiful mural on the wall of the new city parking lot. And the train trestle. Here are some digital mock-ups of what the train trestle could look like through partnerships from the city, county, and the university. And here's the plaza, the most important part of what we're doing. This plaza is going to serve us in a lot of ways. We're going to improve connectivity because this is going to slow. The plaza is two-part. We are, one, going to slow down the traffic with Blossom, Santee, and Congaree where the intersection is, and we're going to put in a 32,000-pound black granite ball. It's a kugel, and it will rotate on a bed of water. It will be the largest in the state, and not only will it serve as a tourism attraction, but it's going to be a piece of beautiful public art that will be interactive. The other portion of our Centennial Plaza will be in tribute to Colonel Jack Van Loan, and not for what he's done for the 5 Points community or for the Columbia community, but for our country. For those that don't know, Colonel Jack Van Loan was a POW for 6 years, and we've taken inspiration from the Hanoi Hilton for our part of the plaza to tribute him. Now, Jack was asked to not be here today so that if you all had questions, we could keep the details of the tribute secret without ruining the surprise. So, to end it, again, thank you for the time, and I want you all to know that while 5 Points Association received a cut in hospitality tax funding, I hope that what we've talked about and what I've shown you demonstrates to you all that 5 Points has been, always will, and looks forward to continuing to be good stewards of the money that you give us. And I look forward to finishing our Centennial celebration with all of you.
Awesome.
I would ask if you have questions, but I was told to get out quickly.
I didn't tell her to get out quickly. Great presentation. We knew you guys would do a fantastic job, and we're excited about seeing it through. So, any questions for Amy Beth? All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I did want
I'm
to.
sorry.
I just
Tamika,
did want to say, just publicly, to Amy Beth and the board, I think that 5 Points has always been a great steward, and not only utilize our funds appropriately and wise, but has seen a return on the investment. And I just want you to know that the cuts weren't personal. We cut what the committee has, but hopefully now that the committee has a little bit more money, they will be looking at allocations, and hopefully there'll be some things there. But I just want to say phenomenal job. I think the Centennial has been going great, and I think that what the 5 Points Association has done, especially in trying to utilize their funds with the Clean and Safe team and the beautifications and other things that you do with your own funds instead of always saying we want the city to do this, shows that we really truly are partners. And I just think y'all need to have that public affirmation that this council does support you.
Thank you. That means more than we can tell you from us, staff, and the board.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I know Reverend McDowell wanted to point of personal privilege. Rev?
I want to thank Amy and, of course, 5 Points Executive Director there and the presenter prior to her. I've asked our mayor to give me I've asked for a point of personal privilege. The last 2 weeks in this nation of ours has been totally tumultuous. And I want to thank, and I'm sure each of us have already done that, to thank our men and women in blue who have provided protection for us. So many times we take for granted what they do, and for that we are grateful. The other thing that I want to say, I appreciate the collaborative effort that has taken place with CPD and Richland County. They came together and they had conversation. But my brothers and sisters, we are in a critical time, a very critical time. And that critical time certainly says to me that we've heard the prayers, we've been to prayer visuals, but it's time for us to do something. This city of ours is one of the cities that continues to promote oneness and inclusivity. But we can't stay on our knees begging in prayers. Prayers aren't answered on your knees. They're answered when someone gets up and does something about the things that are happening. Not Columbia, but our time perhaps is coming. Gun violence in 2014, the acts of violence referencing guns was over 52,000 acts of violence. In 2015, the number escalated to 54,000. And in 2016, we're right at 30,000 acts of violence, of which Columbia is a part of those numbers. My brothers and sisters, I know that there is dialogue. My fellow councilperson, Councilwoman Devine, has already started that kind of dialogue with women. Perhaps this dialogue ought to be inclusive of everybody. And of course, what I plan to do, because it's been said that women be there, I'm going to be there. And she said, come on. Folk, we've got to man up and woman up. Senseless killings is going to tear down the very foundation of what we call true freedom. We cannot continue to let this metastasize in our community. I don't want that to happen, and none of us wants that to happen. If anything, we want to put forth a front, a very legitimate front that's going to engender dialogue, just dialogue. But again, prayers aren't answered on your knees. They're answered when you stand up and you do something. Amen. So one of the things that, I'm almost done. One, amen. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'll pass the offering plate next then. It is incumbent upon each of us that our mayor, members of this council, engage ourselves in conversation and allow that conversation to move from this place to the neighborhoods. Folk gotta know that this is not something we're gonna play with. Kids are dying everywhere. And it breaks my heart when I know that there are instances when if a little conversation had been engendered, we could have solved something, but we hadn't done that. And it bothers me. So I want to, like Councilwoman Devine has already started, conversations on racism, conversation on other issues. We need to talk, folk. And the only way we're going to talk is that we've got to bridge the gap. Now, how do we do that? Why don't we put together, we're good for doing this, put together a committee, a blue ribbon committee, and let it metastasize into this community, into our communities, so that folk will know that we are intentional about making this place a better place, and that what has happened in other areas of the world, and believe me, at some point it's going to happen. And we'd at least would want to know that we tried to be a bridge builder and not someone who tears things down. Mr. Mayor, thank you for that moment of privilege. Thank you.
Mr. Davis, is your hand up?
No, but I'll take the mic. No, thank you. No, let me say this. Don't want to be repetitive, but I think most of you know, and I hope you do know and believe that as things have been happening around this country, and that we as council members in our own way have been trying to make sense of all this, but at the same time, we've had conversations with our first responders and the guys in blue from CPD to, in some cases, thank them for what they're doing, and also continue to talk about some of the things that we have done and have started to do as a city. When it comes to community policing, but community policing in Columbia is different from what some may suspect. For example, when I go to neighborhood meetings monthly, the officers are in that room at that meeting having dialogues with the people who live in that neighborhood. and discussing issues and also talking about preventative measures that everybody can take and should take to make sure that the quality of life is addressed on behalf of everybody who lives there. That's number one. And number two, I am, really concerned about the young people, and we as adults need to set examples for them. But at the same time, the young people of today, 2016, have different experiences from those during our times, and we need to listen to them, talk to them, and give them opportunities to participate and contribute to their community. I'm looking to my right at James. Stand up, James. He still looks like a little boy, but he's a lieutenant in the Air Force. Grew up with my son, and when I think about my son, I'm also concerned about him. He's just a friend of the family. But they both have made decisions to contribute to the quality of life of people in this country. Air Force and Tutu, my son, is in Italy. But I am also concerned about them when they come home. And my son is 24. Is that right, James? When he comes home, I still ask him, where are you going? What time you're going to be back? And if we don't agree on the hour, I tell him when to come back. That's important. Love comes with lessons. So long and short is I'm going to join my colleagues. We all have had ideas and concerns about what do we need to do to make sure that Columbia is representative of the city that we all work to make it, and that we are doing our part, and that we maintain a quality relationship with the people who protect us, whether it's in Columbia or whether they're somewhere else looking out for our quality of life. Thank you.
Sure. I'd say this in the interest of time, and then we want to keep moving. We've had extensive conversations, of course, always with Ms. Devine, and a very detailed conversation, private conversation with Mr. Duval on this very specific issue as well. So it's something that's on everyone's radar. We need to talk about violence. We need to talk about law enforcement. I'm very proud of the work that our Columbia Police Department has been doing in the areas of transparency and accountability. It's been a leader in that regard. But all of our men in uniform, our firefighters, are doing a fantastic job as well. There are some specifics, I think as a nation, we need to continue to focus on. But I will tell you that we also need to start talking a great deal more together about being a compassionate city, about ways in which we can begin to forge the ties that bind and focus on we might have 10 things on the list, and there are 9 things that we all want for our families, and that one thing that we differ on, we tend to focus intently on that one thing we differ on, and not on the 9 that we agree on. And we got to start talking a lot more about love and empathy and bringing people together who may think that they're from different sides of the track, and we're all from the same place. So we're going to have some more conversation. I think we fear nationally right now that so many people, even people of goodwill, are talking past each other, not talking to each other, and there's some work that has to be done there. South Carolina has been doing some really, I think, impressive things as a state, the ways in which we've handled conflict over the last few years. I will say that our police department not only did a great job last week, but also the people who were very aggressively articulating their right to protest and right to assembly did it, and they did it peaceably in a way that I think was very respectful in the spirit of the Edwards marchers that made history here well over 50 years ago. There's a way to get things done. We cannot be defined by the fringes. But it's important to try and foster those productive conversations, but getting well past conversations, let's start talking about how we love each other. Let's start talking about empathy and caring for each other. So we accept that challenge, Reverend McDowell. Ms. Devine.
I just Al alluded to it, so for those who are here and are not aware of the town hall meeting Thursday night, I just wanted to give the details. The city, in partnership with several organizations, the South Carolina Courage Campaign, Community Relations Council, Adventure, Richland County Public Library, and I think I'm missing one, but we are hosting a forum, a town hall meeting for particularly moms. And the reason, Reverend Dow, is the conversations, and I know I've talked to the mayor, so I knew there would be some other things that the city is doing, but particularly I think as moms, there's been a feeling of helplessness and concern about our children. And as the mayor talked about, even when people have differences, one thing that you can, if you find a commonality, you can come around that. And I think one thing that mothers have is our love and the ability to do any and everything we want to do for our children. So this doesn't exclude dads and mentors and big brothers and big sisters. Everybody is invited to come, but it is a conversation among mothers, for mothers to hopefully bring forward some solutions, even if it's how do we talk to our children about what's going on, how do we explain to them what they're seeing, and how do they process it and not be fearful. And so our panelists include people like our city manager, we've got other elected officials, we've got social workers, we have teachers, clergy, and so I would just invite people to join us at Adventure Children's Museum Thursday evening at 6 o'clock.
All right. Thank you. I will say this because I'm going to save Howard the challenge of speaking up. We had a fantastic conversation, a very detailed one that I look forward to following up on in a very more public manner when it's appropriate. All right.
Thanks to each of you. Under other matters, item 44, council is asked to approve a certificate of convenience and necessity as requested by the Business License Division to Mr. Harry T. Chapman Sr., doing business as Chapman Luxury Cab Company.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we adopt 44, 45, and 46, which are all certificates of necessity together.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine? Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Item 47, council is asked to approve the submittal of the 2016 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program application in the amount of $86,614.
So move.
Move approval.
Second.
Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye. Guys, I have a few items I'm going to recuse myself on as a member of the Wood Creek Farms Neighborhood Association, Homeowners Association.
Yes, sir.
We're now going to start the public hearing.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Good evening. Your public hearings this evening consist of a comprehensive plan map amendment for South Olmsted Lane. It is to reclassify the property from AC1 to the residential small lot, EU R1.
Okay. Is anyone here to speak on behalf or against this request, proposal?
Seeing none, I'd move approval.
Second.
Hearing none. Those in favor?
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Item 40 on your agenda, the Park Phase 2, is a request to confirm land use classification of Urban Edge residential large lot. The property was annexed on May 17th, 2016.
Okay, is anyone here to speak on behalf or oppose to this item?
Move approval.
Is a second?
Second.
Second. Those in favor? I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Your next item on the public hearing this evening consists of the park phases 4 and 5. It is a request to confirm land use classification of Urban Edge residential large lot UER 2. The property was annexed on May 17th, 2016.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak on behalf or in opposition to this item? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
There's a second. Madam Clerk, please, ma'am.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
That concludes your public hearing.
Thank you, sir.
The zoning public hearing this evening consists of item number 51. It's 1702 Boudon Court. It's a request to rezone from RS3 FP Residential Single Family District Flood Protective Area to C1 FP Office and Institutional District Flood Protective Area.
Is anyone here to speak in favor of or against this item? Hey, Charlie. Okay, in favor of? All right. Anyone here to speak against it? Everyone else against it? All right. All right, so staff recommendation is denial, planning commission recommendation is denial, and everyone here is here to speak against it? All right, is there a motion? Or discussion?
I would move to deny the rezoning.
All right, any discussion? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, move the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Thank you. We're moving on now, continuing on with our zoning public hearing. 3100 Main Street. This is a request to rezone from MX1 NCF.
I'm sorry, guys, there's a rule you have to stay to the very end. I'm just joking, Charlie. I'm just joking.
To C3 NCFP.
All right. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of or against this?
Krista, if you could explain,
explain a little bit.
what it is and the staff's rationale.
Certainly, this is in the North Columbia overlay. It's in our MX1 district. We rezoned this area, MX1 NC, to help facilitate the implementation of the Villages of North Columbia Master Plan. A business located in this facility, it is Soda City Movers. A moving company is not permitted in the MX1. So in order to stay in this location, they have requested this rezoning. The reasoning behind the staff recommendation for denial is, of course, the land use plan, the Villages of North Columbia Master Plan. The taking it from the MX1 to the C3 will allow some of those uses that are auto-related, are those that we were trying to discourage as part of the adoption of that plan. So that is why the denial.
And so if it's not approved, then the current business in there would have to relocate?
Correct.
Okay. And I've started seeing those trucks. I've noticed, I was wondering, I've started seeing them more and more, so it's new to the area?
I believe so. I believe they're a new business.
Is the business owner here?
New to,
The business owner right here?
Pardon, Mr. Davis?
Davis?
One question on this. The zoning change requested by this particular entity, if the business changes its purpose, type business, or leaves, then the zoning change remains in place, or is it automatically grandfathered for the next entity that comes to that location?
Yes, sir. If the zoning is changed to C3, it will remain C3. And so we will not tie it down to this particular use. If they were to vacate the premises, any use within a C3 would be permitted there.
Okay. Any other questions for staff on this one? Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
What are you,
Moving approval?
are you moving to approve it or deny it?
Deny it.
Are you moving denial? Okay.
I second that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, now, is Mr. Price, I know, because he's talked to several of us. I thought someone would be here representing his interests.
Yeah, they did attend the planning commission meeting as well, so I would have thought the same.
So, any idea why they're not here tonight?
I do not.
Okay.
The planning commission denied it.
Would y'all be inclined to at least kick the can down the road and come make a case before it's denied? Do you mind withdrawing that motion, Mr. McDowell? Let him come make his case before it's denied?
If my second backs off.
He said okay. All right. All right. So we're going to defer action on item 52. All right. Encourage the applicant to be present. All right. 53.
Your next item, we are going to request that council move to continue the public hearing. This is at 1211 Green Lawn Drive, a request to rezone the parcel from RS1 to UTD.
Skip 53.
I'm sorry, what about 53? Did we do 53?
Pardon me, St. Phillips. I was trying to hop forward too bad. Number 53, 2634 St. Phillips Street. This is a request to rezone from RG2 to C1.
All right. Is anyone here to speak in favor of or against this?
Bobby's here.
Bob, Council?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Robert Fuller. I'm an attorney here in Columbia, and Mr. Burgess Mills, who is the applicant on this request for rezoning, is present in the chamber this evening as well. We feel like we need to explain a little bit of why we think that this received a recommendation of denial from the Planning Commission, and we think there is a rationale for that that you need to take into consideration when you consider it for action this evening. This is a portion of property that abuts the existing Middleburg Business Park. The major portion of this proposed development is 3.27 acres inside Middleburg Park. The 2634 St. Phillips Street address is at the end of St. Phillips Street that terminates at Middleburg's property line, having come from Pinehurst on the west. Pinehurst Road and abuts and terminates at this property in Middleburg. What is proposed on this piece of property that accretes that single small, less than or right at quarter-acre lot is a development that will become a part of the Middleburg Office Park complex, not to be a part of the Pinehurst neighborhood itself. So it is really not going to specifically be a projection into the Pinehurst neighborhood. It will simply accrete to the existing property in Middleburg, be incorporated into the larger lot to be developed as a dementia care center. There will be no access to the property from the Pinehurst side. St. Philip Street will not provide access, ingress, egress into Middleburg in any way, shape, or form into this property in either way, shape, or form. Neither will Orangeburg. Both of those streets come and essentially terminate at or before they get to Middleburg. So what we have proposed to do is to add this small lot to increase and enhance the site possibilities for the development proposed in Middleburg that will enable the building to spread a bit, remain as a low-level, one-story building that will be less invasive, less intrusive to the off-campus neighbors, does not create any sort of traffic involvement for them. The total access is off of Devonshire Road on the Middleburg side. A dementia care center of about 65 beds
is a very, very low-intensity use for a piece of property. The residents remain there. They do not drive. They do not have automobiles. They are on campus 24/7. The employment on the property is very low as well. 8 or 10 people in attendance on 3 shifts during a 24-hour day. There's no parking, no increased traffic to speak of by having this center as part of the existing C1 park. The only use to be made of this property in Middleburg without accreting this property to get this a little bit larger footprint would be to put up basically a 3 to 4 story medical office building on Middleburg, which would then overlook the adjacent neighborhoods. All C1 already.
So, Counselor, so the undeveloped area in orange, is that the rest of the property that you're developing, and this would be in addition to that? Is that?
This? Yeah. Where the red dot is the development property in Middleburg. That's the section that abuts it.
Okay. All right.
Yes, that shows it a little better.
Okay.
And where,
Mr. Davis and Mr. Duval?
where do you access this property again? Did you say Devonshire, which is?
Devonshire comes off of Forest Drive
Right.
and circulates through Middleburg.
Through Middleburg
Park.
Mall.
There will be actually 2 points of access to this particular tract from Devonshire inside Middleburg Park.
There's a way in, there's a way coming in from Forest to Devonshire.
Yes.
And there's no way out, no exit on either side.
That's correct. The entrance, one of the major entrances to Middleburg Park is Devonshire. The other is St. Julian Place at the far eastern end. And the roads stay within the park once they get off of Forest Drive. There is no ingress, egress from this property back out into Pinehurst, nor any way to get in from Pinehurst into this piece of property without going around to Forest Drive and coming in through Devonshire.
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Duval, then Mr. McDowell.
Mr. Mayor, I have had experience with this presentation before, and I think this is the proper place for it. I think that it has good access off of a major road, Forest Drive. It's basically in an area that's already zoned for this. It is a good employer. It is an attractive building, and I'd like to move that the council approve the rezoning.
Second. All right. Discussion. So help me understand where'd Krista go? She's still somewhere?
Right there.
Oh, there you go. These ingress and egress concerns, are those lots, I guess that would be to the east, are those currently, I can't say if they're occupied by structures or not. Are they occupied by structures or are they vacant?
Across the street is vacant. Adjacent, there are residential
Okay,
structures.
those are structures there. Have we gotten feedback from those neighbors on this project or not?
Yeah, we got a letter.
No, we have not.
I've gotten a lot of those from Pinehurst. None about this one just yet. So they like this one. Okay.
I received the letter.
Okay. But particularly, I'm interested in controlling ingress and egress. Is that addressed in here in some way with finality that does not allow vehicular access through the neighborhood?
Our ordinance would not permit access to a commercial establishment through a residential zone.
Okay, so that would be controlled otherwise, and prohibited otherwise.
Right.
All right. right, there's a motion on the floor. Any,
Mr. Mayor.
yes, sir, Mr. McDowell.
Now, the only other cars that's going to be in that area will be those cars who are employees of the facility. Is that right?
It is a residential facility, so the employees will have parking on site.
That's correct.
Visitors to the patients or the residents would drive automobiles presumably, but there is not going to be it's not a pass-through traffic pattern, it's a destination location, and it's a very low-intensive use.
Sure. Move the question, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Madam Clerk, please call a roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine? Aye. Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye, and Krista, just so I'm clear, staff's recommendations, is it purely about encroachment issues? The same encroachment issues we always talk about, right?
Yes, sir.
Nothing else. All right. Aye. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Bob. All right.
The case at 1211 Green Lawn Drive, the request to rezone the parcel from
54 has been
RS1
pulled.
to UTD. We,
Didn't Mr.
Was this deferred? Oh, yeah.
we're going to request that that public hearing be continued until the August 16th meeting, if council would consider
Somebody
that.
doesn't want a dentist in the neighborhood? Okay. All right. 55.
Number 55 is at 1721 Gadsden Street. This is a zoning map and text amendment to request to rezone to add the DP designation to designate the structure as a Group 3 individual historic landmark.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
In discussion? With the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine? Aye. Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
We will move number 56 and 57 to the end of the public hearing so that we can consolidate all of the Wood Creek Farms into one, so the mayor will not have to come back.
At the end? Okay.
So we'll move those
All
to
right.
the end.
Okay.
We will move on to annexation comprehensive map amendment and zoning map amendment at 1606 Blaine Street, a request to annex.
Which
assign to
number?
land use.
Okay, 58. Okay.
Number 58, annex and assign a land use classification of UER1 and assign RS2.
All right. Is there a motion? I guess we should be asking for public input on these as well. All right. Anyone speaking in favor or against this? Is there a motion?
I move we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? With the previous question, clerk call a roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis? Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Number 59, same matter at 7709 Ramona Street to annex, assign a land use classification of UER1 and RS2.
Motion by Mr. McDowell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion? Anyone here speak in favor or against this? In favor of? Okay. With the previous question, clerk call a roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
4901 Dale Drive, annex, assign a land use classification of UER1 and assign zoning of RS3.
All right. Is there anyone here speak in favor or against this? Is there a motion?
Just one question on
Sure.
that. This is definitely going to be a single, an owner-occupied, single-family residence.
We cannot control the occupancy, but it is a single-family residential zoning, yes.
Now, that means what? Could they put another structure on this site?
It must maintain only one family, so
Only one structure, single
one dwelling
family?
unit. One dwelling unit,
One dwelling, single family.
correct.
Move to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
With the previous question, clerk call a roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
1048 Dreyfus Road, request to annex and assign a land use classification of UCMR2 and assign zoning of D1FE.
Anyone here speak in favor of or against this? Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
All right. Discussion? With the previous question, clerk call a roll.
Mr. McDowell? Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Ms. Devine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
We now enter into Wood Creek Farms, a zoning confirmation at the park Phase 2.
That's back to 56.
Correct,
Back to
pardon me,
56.
number 56. This is to confirm the zoning of a recently annexed parcel at the park at Phase 2 to confirm the zoning of PUDR.
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there anyone here to speak for or against? None. Okay. Call the roll, please, Madam Chairman, Madam Clerk.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Ms. Devine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Annexation at the park Phase 4 and 5, a request to confirm the zoning of PUDR.
Is there anyone here speaking for or against? Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, please, ma'am.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Ms. Devine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Now proceeding back to number 62 for those following, which is annexation of 567 Spears Creek Church Road and 751 Spears Creek Church Road. Request to annex and assign a land use of UER1, UEAC1, and a zoning of a PUDC and a PUDR and floodplain where applicable.
Is there anyone speaking for or against this? Is there a motion?
So move.
Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Ms. Devine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Final matter is an annexation at 1501 St. Andrews Road. Request to annex, assign a land use of AC1 and a zoning of C3.
Is there anyone speaking for or against? Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, please, ma'am.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Ms. Devine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
That concludes your zoning public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krista.
Thank you.
Ordinances? Yeah. Where is it?
Hurry up, we can adjourn before he gets back.
Tell them we're on a roll here. Oh, no. You're good. She's got, look at my text message. She's got.
Ordinances, first reading. Ordinance number 2016-063, amending the 1998 Code of Ordinances of the City of Columbia for the Chapter 21 Stormwater Management and Sedimentation Control, Article 3, Flood Damage Prevention, Division 3, Flood Hazard Reduction. The proposed language in the ordinance removes language from Section 21-174 and incorporates the language into Section 21-173 according to the FEMA Act.
I'm sorry.
I'd move approval.
Thank you.
Do we need, anybody need an explanation of this?
No? Anybody here? Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Discussion with the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Ms. Devine. Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Item 65, ordinance number 2016-064, authorizing the mayor to execute a second amendment to development agreement between the City of Columbia, South Carolina, and Bull Street Development, LLC, successor in interest to and assignee of Hughes Development Corporation as equitable owner and developer of approximately 165 acres of land within the City of Columbia, commonly known as the Department of Mental Health's Bull Street campus.
I'd move approval. I'd like to discuss.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion, Mr. Duval.
I want to highlight this particular ordinance because I think it's good. Bob Hughes, who is the master developer of the Bull Street project, has worked with the city to rearrange the requirements of the city to build garages in exchange for some consideration by the city, which helps us in our cash flow position and our ability to provide these facilities in a more economical manner. I think it proves that Mr. Hughes is looking out for the best interest of the city of Columbia as well as for Mr. Hughes and his development company, and it shows the partnership that we have to make sure that this project is done as economically as we can for the citizens, and it's going to be a wonderful place when it's built out.
Thank you, Mr. Duval. Any other input? Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Appointments, item 66, the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee.
What is there? Who we have up in H6?
You have, we're asking for the reappointment of Hal Stevenson, Sandra Sims,
So Sims and who else was the other one?
and Frank Cook, and then the appointment of Joelle Cook. We have to have, by state law, someone in the arts, cultural arts.
I move the reappointment of Frank Cook, Sandra Sims, and appointment of Joel Cook. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Move the
You
previous
get Hal
question.
Stevenson in there.
He's already on there. He's not up. Hal's not up, right?
No, he's up.
Oh, I'm sorry, and Hal Stevenson as well. I apologize, I missed that. And Hal Stevenson as well, all four. So Hal Stevenson, Sandra Sims, Frank Cook, all reappointed, and then Joel Cook as a new appointee.
Now, Joel is the new person, and the other
Yes.
four remained.
Of the three.
The
Of the three.
are reappointments,
Okay.
and they're all eligible. Fourth one is a new one.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
I move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
The Central Midlands Council of Government is next, if council wants to consider that one. We're looking for the appointment of one individual.
Who's
What
coming
name
off?
do you have?
I didn't see any, you have two applicants. Carolyn Keith and William Leidinger.
I didn't see those that came in.
I move the appointment of Mr. Leidinger. He is a retired city manager from Richmond, Virginia, and has been very active in the community.
What's his last name?
So we only had two, Carolyn Keith.
Leidinger.
This is Central Midlands, right?
Yeah.
This is for Ms. Novinger's, to replace Ms. Novinger's term. Is that it?
It looks like.
It doesn't say if it's to replace anybody or not.
I'm thinking she resigned because she moved.
Kathy's outside the city limits now. She's moved to Cheraw.
Right.
Good move.
Oh, so that's why we're replacing.
This is for the unexpired term
Yes.
that would end June 2017.
Second nomination, if there ain't no more nominations, we'll move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis? Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
The next one is the Climate Protection Action Committee.
Who's rotating off, Libby?
That's Ed's, I believe.
What part of town?
It says,
Council is asked to approve the District 4 appointee to the committee.
Have we got any input from Ms. Plow?
I don't see any input. Do you want to hold this one?
Can we inquire? Let's
we
inquire.
only have one District 4 applicant. Annette Bowitt.
Annette?
Bodie?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
retired professional social worker.
And lover of pets.
Move her appointment.
Yeah.
Is that
Second.
her appointment?
Second.
Yeah, I mean, you guys want to talk to Leona about it first? I know she loves Miss Bodie. We all do. But would you like to inquire?
Well, Ms. Devine has appointed. It's the only person that applied from District 4. Do you want me to inquire and bring this back?
If that's the case, should we move to defer?
let's bring up next meeting, ask Ms. Cloud where she is on it, okay? Y'all okay with that? Yep. All right.
The next one is
So we
criminal
amended
domestic
items.
violence.
We amended item 69, we're talking about the entirety of the committee, was that, Tamika?
Well, yes, it's the entirety of the committee. The committee is kind of defunct at this point. I did send you all an email regarding Nancy Barton and I, who are the co-chair of this committee. We reviewed the applications. The way we've set this committee up, every council member gets an appointment, and then Nancy and I serve, and so that makes 9 members of the task force. And so if anybody has anybody in mind, certainly that is can be considered. But I did want to add, because I did talk to Mr. Bedore regarding the appointment, because it was only one appointee from his district. This committee is not limited to city employees. City residents. We've never limited to city residents. But I also want to say that we have advertised this, and I hate that Ms. Bailey's not here, I think either 2 or 3 times. And my concern, Mr. Bedore asked, could we advertise it again? I think that once you've advertised something 2 or 3 times, the people who are interested have applied. And with Domestic Violence Awareness Month coming up, next year will be our 10th anniversary. We really need to get a fully functioning committee to start working on this year's walk, as well as some activities that we want to plan for next year. So, I would ask that based on the recommendation of me and Ms. Barton, I would ask that we move forward with a full slate of some of the nominee, of the people that we've recommended.
I second that. I've got the list of.
Want to read the names?
I do. I actually have one correction, though. I'm sorry, I was typing quickly, so.
Here you are, Tamika.
Let's see.
The hard copy?
You got it. The only one I have, Libby, do you have the applicants? We have a victim advocate that also was appointed. I think she actually was the last name instead of this one I have down here.
What was that name that you were looking for?
And I don't remember the name, but it's a victim advocate. If you look at the employees, the occupation, the person is a victim advocate. They're on the second page of the list. I can go to it too. Let's see. I could probably pull it up quicker. But anyway, so I'll go into these names. I would move the appointment of Kelly Cordell, Demetria Capone, LaShawn White, Daryl Kershaw, Linda Huggins, Lorenzo Cato, and Jan Nobles.
Second.
All right. In discussion?
You want that back, Howard? I want the sheet back.
All right. Any other nominations? If not, move the previous question. Clerk, call a roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I would just add, Reverend McDowell just asked, and this is something that Nancy and I had considered as well, is that I think when we first set this up, it was just kind of, we utilized a form that we had normally done, a member from each council member. There are so many things that we can do with domestic violence awareness, and having a 7-member committee tends sometimes to be limiting. So I would ask that we consider potentially expanding the committee, and then certainly if we expand it, we can add additional appointees.
All right. Let's keep it going.
The next is the Parks and Rec Foundation. Council is asked to appoint 4 individuals.
Who do you have now, Libby, and where are they? What areas of the city do they represent?
Amy Edwards is District 2. Mary Elizabeth Gregg is District 2. Kaylee Peterson is District 2. Stephanie Sattler is District 3. Justin Waits is District 3. Sue Irwin Harper is District 4. Maldra Brown is outside the city limits.
Okay, I'd like to reserve an appointment from District 1. Prefer not to do it tonight.
All right, Mr. Duval.
I'd like to nominate Sue Irvin Harper,
A second.
attorney with Nelson Mullins.
Corky Harper.
Corky, yeah.
All right. Moving probably second. Move the previous question.
I'd like
Or do you add someone too?
I'd like to defer there's Amy Edwards and, what was the other name?
Mary Elizabeth Grigg.
There's 3 from District 2, 3
Haley
applicants.
Peterson.
Let me, if I could, defer that until our next meeting.
Okay.
There are 4 slots, so if you want, do you want to fill another slot?
Why don't we go ahead and fill Harper now? Move the previous question, Clerk Colorado.
Mr. McDowell? Yes. Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I just want to, I mean, for everybody to go back and look for the ones that are deferred, but we're actually, the foundation is comprised of 15 to 25 members. Council appoints 7 members, and then I guess the other ones come from, I don't know if Allison knows where the other ones come.
It's self-perpetuating. The board itself? Yeah.
But I just want to point out that even though we don't have applicants, if y'all look, we have, who are currently serving, we do have members. We have 1 person from District 1, 1 from District 2, 3 from District 3, and 1 from District 4. So we need to consider that now that we've done Corky, that's 2 from District 4, but we need to make sure that we keep a balance of citywide as well.
And the committee and the foundation has a great deal of potential to have a lot of latitude to do some things that need to be done that may not always be best or appropriate for the city to do. All right, we'll take up the other 3 later on, and I guess we probably need to resolicit applications for another period of time.
For the Property Maintenance Board of Adjustment.
No,
and
I
Appeals.
meant for Parks and Rec Foundation. If these guys are still looking for additional applicants, let's put it back out there for another week or 2.
Re-advertise?
Yeah. Property Maintenance Board of Adjustment and Appeals.
2 applicants. We're looking for 2 applicants who are qualified by experience and training.
All right.
What is the distribution now?
It says
One
4.
from District 1, none from District 2, 2 from District 3, and 4 from District 4.
So we have,
And this
I
is-
move,
We don't have any applicants from inside the city
Well,
limits.
no,
Can we-
there's one, it's one, it actually, it's not on here correctly, but Dorothy, Taretha Green?
Yeah, from District 1.
there are 2 slots? 2 slots, is that right?
2 applicants, yes, sir.
I move the appointment of Tammy Davis and Leslie Williams.
They're both within the city.
Yeah. Well, but both of them,
One's office is on Bull Street and the other,
she manages all the housing authority properties.
These slots are what, 2-year, 4-year terms?
3-year term.
3-year terms.
she's a property manager.
Do-
She's a
Do we have anything that says it should be a city resident, or does it matter?
No. But it appears that both of these do work inside the city limits.
Yeah, I know them both, and the other thing I would just say about both of them is about qualifications, they both work with property, so I think that they have qualifications that would be useful on this
Experience
board.
and training is important in this position.
Libby, would you have, just kind of check the attendance on the District 1 appointee for me? Let me know in a few days.
Check. Which one?
Just check the attendance
Oh, attendance?
for District 1.
Did you second? the motion?
Yeah, a second.
All right. Any other discussion? Move the previous question. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Thank you, Libby. At this time, we would ask if council would like to consider any matters from the work session portion of the agenda that may require a vote.
Ms. Thank you. Ms. Devine?
I'm not sure necessarily it requires a vote, but I think some discussions we've had, I think council needs to clarify a couple things. When we talked about the clean and safe team for the Vista, and we decided that we would let our previous motion stand with the money for the committee, and that request, it was indicated that request would go to the committee to be considered. The only thing I just wanted to point out, it was just corrected, Libby corrected that when we made that motion, we asked that the committee go back and look at applications that were already in front of them that they were not able to fund. My understanding is that the Vista does not have a pending application because their requests for clean and safe came directly to City Council. So we do need to clarify that for staff and the committee so that they know whether or not they are to be looking at that application, or if they need to get an application, or if we're going to amend our previous motion.
I'm fine with giving them leave to compete for the funds like everyone else. I'm fine with that.
With that allocation of funding.
That's correct.
Yeah.
With the
That's
with the
the
312,000.
Yeah.
I'm just clarifying, is that the
Yes.
intent?
That would be it. I was asking, and Libby was kind enough to do some very, very quick back of the envelope numbers for me. You know, I just want to make sure that as we look at the City Center Partnership and 5 Points and Vista Guild and North Columbia Business Association and funds that we have appropriated either through the HTAX committee process or council or in supplemental rounds or however we've done it, the fact that a number of groups took cuts this year, I want to make sure that since we are making some changes after the fact, that we're keeping our eyes on at least some degree of equity between the groups. And these were very quick, let me pull together. It'd be worth, I think, at least sharing that with everyone so we can kind of understand, since we have some ongoing moving parts. It was just a last minute question I asked of Matt Kennel earlier. Just wanted to make sure that we weren't disadvantaging anyone in the process. Everyone knows the importance of having a good, clean, and safe program in the Vista, and if they can stretch the dollars further, we certainly want to support that. But we also want to make sure everyone's treated fairly and they have the responsibility going through the same process. So I would fully support if we need a motion to make it clear that we support them being added into the pool of pre-existing applications to be considered by the committee. Then I'll second Ms. Devine's motion.
Just to make sure, though, that we understand that the applications that are there here now represents what we're going to do with $312,000 first. Now, if the Vista, and I think if I heard Mr. Mayor right, if I heard that right, that simply says that the Vista would have to reapply, apply.
No, they don't have to reapply. That their application will be treated along with all the other ones that are pending before the. If
Well,
we
they
start
actually
with
have
our
to fill out an
previous-
application
Yeah.
because they've not, yeah. But their application could be considered with this round.
Now, did we prioritize the applications, the ones that were not, the requested applications, of course, but were there any prioritization done with the remaining applications?
No, all the applications are reviewed by
this-
the committee.
Okay.
And they made their recommendation to you all, which you all approved, based on the amount of money that they got. The intent of the committee, and I thought the directive from council was for them to review those same existing applications. My concern that I mentioned to Ms. Devine was the Vista Guild did not have yellow shirts in their application, so it would not be considered unless you all wanted us to consider that as part of it.
And so my motion is that we want them to consider that the Vista Guild needs to submit an application for that yellow shirts, and that will be considered along with the other things that are going in front of the committee.
Okay, we can do that.
Whatever amount the committee decided to allocate.
How much are they requesting?
So we want them to apply just for the $67,000 they're asking for now, in addition to the 108 that's already established, and then the committee will make the recommendation based on that.
All right. Any other?
Ms. Wilson, let
Yes, sir.
Because you started something and you ended it.
Yes, sir, I did.
Can I hear the end?
I think what I was trying to make clear is that the way this has been presented for their program to work was based off the budget that they sent to you all. So I guess I don't want it to be an exercise with the committee of them allocating them $10,000 and then, I guess then they just wouldn't be able to do it. And I think we come back to this whole discussion
But I think we're
what-
clear that it's a competitive process. I mean, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, the way
And
I
I'm
got
not
the
advocating
presentation.
either way, I'm just saying that in this instance, for that, they're submitting it as if for a program to work with staff, et cetera.
I think they have a current program with the 108. I think their desire is to go up to 5 employees versus the 2, which takes them to the 175 or whatever. So I think that if they don't get the total amount, they have to work within what they have. But even within the 108, they have a program.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
They have a program with the 108. It's not staffed at the level they
They
would
have
like
a program with the 108, doing it through CCP for that matter. I mean, they've worked out the
Same number,
numbers.
same
It's
number,
just that
same number.
It's just, that's fine.
Yeah,
And I also I think we're gonna have to look at, so that we're not getting into the same issues we've gotten in before about staffing. I may be wrong, and I know the CFO and I talked about this a little bit, but HTAX dollars are gonna, if this is a service and it's gonna be some type of service agreement with them to provide that service down there, I'm not quite sure that it's any different when we've had this discussion before about how HTAX funds are spent on staff or percentage of staff, et cetera.
City manager's concerns are that obviously if we have eligible uses to support a true and consistent law enforcement presence in the Vista, that we use the limited amount of funds for those purposes. Not in lieu of clean and safe, but if you had to prioritize, she'd rather they be used for law enforcement purposes. But as was presented to us, the numbers, if they were held at what has been previously appropriated, would have them pretty much awash on the number of clean and safe employees in the Vista. They think they can leverage those funds with a few more to get to double their staff. But if in fact they did not get awarded those by the committee, they'd still be whole as they are today, and they just have to limit the program. All right, we good? With one mind? All right, let's keep it moving.
We need to vote on that.
Yeah, Mr. Davis, I know he has some concerns about and when it's a conversation we need to have. There are several other groups that we have traditionally funded outside of the process. I've expressed complete comfort with that, and we talked about it earlier, and happy to do it prospectively. There are at least a handful of groups, the Eau Claire Unity Festival and the Greenview Reunion, that I know are at the top of his list that I also want to support, that we certainly could take up independently, but just going to make sure there's a comfort level with the entire council to do so. I didn't mean to speak for you. You can feel free, but
No, that's exactly what we discussed. That was one of the major concerns, and as I said, we need to continue to look at some of these organizations that are trying to get their footing.
All right. Do we even know what the? I mean, we can. Obviously, it's not noticed. When do we meet again?
August 2nd.
August 2nd.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I'm not sure. It's not even ripe, I guess, to make decisions if we haven't noticed it. I know that at least those 2 items need to be before us. All right. So whatever the request is, Mr. Davis, you might just talk with staff and get that before us.
And where would those funds come from?
The same pot that the other funds came from. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
No, just
Eau Claire
2 items:
Unity.
Eau Claire Unity Festival and Greenview Reunion.
Well, and I guess the question is, and I guess Libby can come back and talk to us about what John says regarding how quickly the committee can come together. I mean, I'm supportive of those and others that got cut as well, but I thought the whole point of our previous motion was that the committee would get more money and then they could go back and look at those applications. If we're using the money that we did, then number one, I guess there has to be an amended motion, because our motion was that all that money would go to the committee.
Let's refine what that request, what the request is from those organizations. Let's see if John and the committee can get us a updated list of recommendations between now and our next meeting, so we can have it all. We can have it all good. We can have it all before us on August 2nd.
Friday.
Okay.
So.
All right. Good deal. Let's do that. Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's keep it moving. Any reports or referrals from committees? Referrals to committee or reports from committee? All right. Seeing none, we're going to go into the appearance of the public. All right, Mr. Lee, so it says Save Our Kids, Lee. Are you going to present on behalf? Okay, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hear y'all talk about committee, but I never hear you talk about youth committee. I don't know if y'all have one. Do y'all have a youth committee?
I'm sorry, please. We've had a youth commission, and actually in the plans of standing one back up again. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate it. And also, being a former police officer and former military, and also I go over to the Middle East a lot. And my thing is, we talk about law enforcement. When you go into law enforcement or the military, you know what type of job you're going into. But the general public must be treated with the utmost respect. Law enforcement must be customer friendly. They are to protect and serve. And they are not to use their, like, what you call deadly force as soon as they are afraid. If you're afraid, you should not go in that line of work. And my concern is, when you take somebody's life, you can't bring it back. You know, so you should always think about either black or white. And being a black male, and I can't speak as a white man, I can speak as a black male. We must do more in our race, because I look at y'all up here, and you are a majority. You must reform law enforcement, make them be held accountable for their action, because you got a lot of guys I saw got promoted. You got 51 guys got promoted this term around, and you only had 9 blacks out of the 51. And that is my concern. And my concern also is you have a lot of racism within law enforcement, working with Columbia Police Department, and a lot of guys do not care about the black community. Because I walk in the area of the Colony, North Point, and Bayberry, and those guys do not treat those people out there with utmost respect. And that must stop, or you will have the same incident you had in Dallas. And because my thing, I'm afraid if we don't act now, it will happen here. And I keep hearing y'all say, well, it can never happen here. That's a lie. It will happen here. And I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms.
Being in the Middle East, I got blown out of a building, and I broke my neck. And also I told some disc in my back. And I learned while I was laying there on that ground that you only have one life, and you must serve your God, whoever your God is, while you're here. Because you can't get no redo once you leave here. And I'd like to say thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kylie Assumpta? And Ms. Dana Wells? All right, same time.
So I wanted to first commend you guys on taking action to speak about some of the things that have been going on in our city and our nation. And I do appreciate you stepping forward and saying something about that.
Speaking to the microphone so the people online can hear you too.
On June 28th, I sent an email regarding having a more diversified fire department. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. I've been living here as a lifelong resident. I'm from the 5 Points area. And something that I've noticed quite frequently is that there is not a lot of diversity in the fire department when it comes to more of our impoverished areas. We see a lot of we don't see a lot of African American men on the fire trucks. What I'm asking is that we be able to have a say or actually get more people involved so that we can have more representation in our impoverished areas so that, one, we can increase the diversity and also create a want for young kids to want to be in the law enforcement community.
Thank you.
I too sent an email as well requesting the demographic information for the fire departments. I have not received a response back.
Okay.
So what are your plans with diversifying the fire departments? I'm a teacher in District 1, and I've noticed that when we have our career days, the fire trucks do come out, and the firemen that are on those trucks do not mirror the students that are in our population.
Well, he's sitting right behind you, and so you got the data too, Billy? Rev, you got
We are a very diversified fire department. Nationally, the diversification percentage is 7.7, and here in Columbia we're at 38%. We do have a very diversified department. Like I said, I've worked. We have 2 stations, according to the numbers we have here. If Chief allows,
yeah, we can talk a little bit more, but we are hiring and looking for good people too. So let's figure out how we can get a good pipeline going. But got the city manager here, got the chief right there. Y'all figure out how we get in front of some more of these young people and get more and more of them on staff. All right. Go ahead, Chief. Talk to the folks. Ladies, thank you for being here. I will tell you, and I sometimes I feel like a broken record, but you have to keep saying things over and over again. The things that, we got our fire department just got the highest ISO rating in the country, doing great things there. Our police department has been the tip of the spear in trying to reform transparency and accountability in police departments, doing some really good work there. But we know that no matter how good you might think you are, there's always room to get a whole lot better. So we want to keep on pushing and recruiting the best talent and making sure that young people know that these are great career opportunities, and want to make sure this is a place where we can attract and retain the best and brightest as well. So talk to Chief and let's figure out how ways we can get some. I want you to come back in a couple of years and talk about how many young people are working at those stations in those departments, and we can figure it out, okay? Thank y'all for coming. All right. Is it Mr. Anthony? Is it Fike? Mr. Anthony Fike.
Hello, my name is Anthony Fike. I am a Columbia resident. Been here for about 3.5 years. Just wanted to actually thank you, Mr. Benjamin, for there was a article in the state paper where it talked about possibly merging Richland County with the city of Columbia, and I think that's a great idea in terms of developing and growing our city, and bringing up a point of the increased cost of water outside of the city of Columbia. I know based on my water bill, it is extremely high, but I just wanted to offer that show of support, and if there's any way that I can become involved in furthering that conversation, I would be happy to do that. I think City of Columbia should definitely grow. If you kind of look at our neighboring cities, Charlotte and Atlanta, I think we can see where that would definitely be a good idea for the city and contribute to growth, vertical development in our city, have inclusive development so that we can bring people in Richland County to jobs in the city of Columbia, and also have a much larger metropolitan city here in the Southeast. So I definitely wanted to just, again, show support for that.
Thanks, Mr. Fike. It's a long and important conversation to have. I will say I'm impressed that you sat here 2 hours to say that. We spoke on the way in. But let's get your contact information. Let's chat a little more, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kennedy Smith? Mr. Kennedy Smith. And Mr. Smith is the last person to have signed up. Everyone else signed up to speak on zoning. If there's no one else, then Mr. Smith, you have the last word.
Thank you, sir, for having me. I would like to commend you on the way that the city itself functions. It seems as if you all are trying to do a very good job here. I am a visitor from the state of Alabama. Since I've been here approximately 5 months, I've encountered two major problems. And it is not my desire to be here to present the problem or the situation before you like this, but I did not, and I was not able to get any answers from the means which I was proceeding. The first one is concerning what unregulated or perhaps unregulated towing companies that operate inside the city that is not helpful for the tourists, for the people who live here, for college students, and those whose cars might get towed. I have a friend that worked for a towing company that used to tow cars that was illegally parked according to private property. He explained to me that private property owners and also the towing company would work together to basically take money from the public by putting up signs saying no parking where the parking lot is still open to the access for people to come in when there are functions within the city or something's going on and there's nowhere to park. Back in the 60s and 70s, you could park at gas stations, you could park in an open lot or anything else. If a owner, and I understand that supposedly this comes from insurance regulations holding a owner responsible for any actions that may happen on their property after 5 o'clock. If an owner really wants to keep someone off their property, there are security measures such as a coded arm that would allow you to go into the property or out of the property for his workers or whoever he chose to come on. When the towing companies, where it comes in at is the fact that it's an open lot, there's no chain there, there's no coded arm there or anything for certain people. So if you have a visitor or a tourist that comes in, they don't have any place to park. So they may perhaps park there and get towed. Where the towing company comes in of the unregulations is what I've seen and found is that if your car is towed, you're not allowed to get your kids' books out of the car unless you get the car out. You're not allowed to get work uniforms. You're not allowed to get work tools. You're not allowed to get passports, birth certificates. You're not allowed to get anything. This is not helpful to the people of the city, neither the people who visit the city, neither anyone that does not have the money to get their car back, or their car may be broken, so they're not going to get it back. If they have children, they won't be able to get the children's school clothes if they was in the car, shot records, or other important documents. So I urge you to somewhat come up with something, some kind of regulations that will allow a person to get their important papers or whatever it is in that car out so that they can continue their lives. And this is a large issue. I've actually talked with a uniformed personnel who stated that they understand and see this, but they can do nothing about it. If there's a police investigation, I can understand. No one touches the car, no one can get anything out of the car. If it's not a police investigation going on concerning the vehicle, I think the towing company should be allowed some kind of way, or come up with some kind of agreements to get important documents out of that car. My time may be up. Is it up?
It is. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you very much.
I have one more thing. I don't know what to do. I guess I have to come back.
Okay. I'm sorry?
I have one more thing that I wanted to present.
All right. A whole separate issue?
Yes.
All right. I think you got to come back on that one, Mr. Smith. All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Mayor, the gentleman hit a hot button.
Yeah, and I think, and if it's like the other one, these are staff issues that let's see what they are and let's see if we can address them. Okay. All right.
The next issue is concerning the code enforcement department.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk to staff about that. All right.
Later.
Just chill. All right. All right. Mr. Duval.
On his first topic of concern about the towing, that's one of my hot button topics too. And we have a mutual friend who has told me that she sat at a local restaurant in the Vista and watched 19 cars pulled out of a lot. The tow trucks were waiting right outside, and as soon as the people parked illegally, they were there pulling them out. That's a scam that has been pulled in other cities with boots and other things to raise money for both the property owner and the tow truck. And we need to get our hands around that problem before it becomes more visible than it is now. I know that Greenville has passed ordinances to take care of it. They had a terrible problem up there, and are regulating how those tow trucks and the private properties cooperate to catch people and pull them off and charge them $250 to get the car back and whatever. It's happening in Columbia right now, right here in River City.
Yeah, let's take a look at the issue. I know Mr. Anderson and Ms. Gentry have brought this up to me several times as an issue of concern that they've been wanting to work on. I'm just joking with y'all. They're both looking at me like right now saying, please, more work. That's exactly what we need. But obviously, if it's a real issue, let's bring the Greenville ordinance before us and see if it's something we need to spend some time on. Is there a non-debatable motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Any discussion with the previous question? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell? Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine? Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.